everybody. Welcome to StudioZ, a podcast of empowerment, abilities over disabilities. I'm your host, Melissa Marvel. Good day, everybody. Welcome back to StudioZ. We have a returning guest, Gordon Holmes, who is a certified financial planner. And today we're going to continue the series with regard to special care. And today we're going to be discussing the topic of special needs trust. Providing for lifetime care and a quality of life. Gordon, welcome back to StudioZ.
Thank you, Melissa. Glad to be here.
It's good to see you again. Like we were talking just before we got on the recording, was you can't wait to see you in person and move beyond the pandemic, COVID, social distancing. But anywho, we'll just get started. And I'd just like to ask you, let's just dive in because it's a big topic. It's an important topic. So Gordon, explain to us, what is special care?
Special care is a program sponsored by MassMutual, the large insurance and financial firm. And MassMutual invites selected advisors, such as myself, to participate in the program when we have either a personal and or strong interest professionally to assist our respective special needs communities with planning issues that usually focus on legal, financial, and government benefit issues or categories. And so I'm one of about 300 highly trained advisors across the country serving in our respective special needs communities, helping. There's a lot of education that goes on, like today's podcast and workshops that I do for a variety of both schools and nonprofits. And so the objective is to educate, empower, and advocate for families that have a member with special needs to help them plan for the future. Many of the advisors in the program have a family member, such as myself. I have a son with special needs. And so they both have professional and personal interest in being involved, Melissa. So something I'm very passionate about, very thankful for the opportunity to help families and to be a part of your program.
Yes. And again, StudioZ, we wanted to bring this about so that we could get this information out there because it's vital and so many families may not be aware of it. And so today, we're going to dive in with your expertise and just talk about the comprehensive planning that's involved with that. And kind of, it's going to be a higher level conversation in the sense that I want you to share with them kind of the bullet points. But after the fact, once we go through this, they can contact you directly and pursue additional questions and answer sessions for you or attend one of your full-on webinars regarding the subject matter. But with that, Gordon, we've got 10 comprehensive life care planning steps. Do you want to share a couple of those with us?
Well, so processes are important because that helps to know when we're beginning a planning process and when we feel confident that the planning process is complete. But when it comes to special needs planning and planning for a loved one that has special needs, one of the issues that we spend time on is trying to make certain that all supports and helps that are available are in place to be supportive. So this can be assisting a consumer or a family with Social Security issues. So I was on a Zoom call just earlier this morning with a family, and we were going over the differences between SSI and SSDI and trying to make certain that the maximum benefits available were in play, this type of thing. Or in some cases, it's Medicaid or Medicaid waiver services and what's available and where we're at. And sometimes people are thinking about moving across the river from Indiana to Kentucky or vice versa and are not aware of the implications of that. So certainly accessing, advocating, and keeping government benefits in place is an important step. Once some of these benefits are in place, then focus usually shifts to not only utilizing those benefits, but how do we maintain eligibility for them?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes gravity will actually pull a person almost naturally away from eligibility. And so sometimes it's not something that someone did, but maybe even a lack of action causes them to lose eligibility. So I was talking to someone earlier today, and their adult child with special needs was setting up a life insurance policy
Mm-hmm.
for themselves.
Uh-huh.
And so they said, so, well, so he's setting up this life insurance, and that way when something happens to him, there'll be funds to take care of burial, et cetera. And the thought never occurred to them that Medicaid might have a significant interest in life insurance that he was setting up for himself.
So,
And so, it's just very natural functions, getting life insurance. But again, it's the implications that it has on government benefits. And so, again, a lot of education goes into this, as well as running interference to keep people out of harm's way, but keeping these benefits in place because they're worth, in most cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the lifetime of an individual with a disability or special needs. And so we want to hang on to them. And it isn't just, while everyone is here, but oftentimes when something happens to the parents, and of course there's an interest in resources rolling downhill to the children, and when resources run downhill to an individual that has disability or special needs, then we're sometimes in resource trouble, because with a $2,000 maximum for maintaining eligibility for Medicaid waiver services, as well as SSI, one does not have to be the beneficiary on much of a life insurance policy that the parents hold, or leftover monies from an IRA to really create an issue in maintaining eligibility for these benefits. So part of this is, of course, getting family to be open to stepping up and trying to be helpful when something happens to the parents. And so the planning process is making the most of today, but trying to make sure that the future is smooth, so that family member or members that are willing to help out don't, in essence, inherit a nightmare.
right. I mean, the whole process is meaning the benefits, the life insurance, all of that. It's all instruments to be very helpful to the family. But because it is many avenues of regulation come into that for purposes of planning, that it's very helpful to have an individual such as yourself with those specific skills that can help the families walk through that process and to set it up well. Because it is, to your point, that windfall, if something were to happen, it could throw off all of their remaining benefits. Or to your point earlier about the life insurance, those are very, very specific concerns that you can help others avoid the downside of not proper planning. So, what other steps or additional reasons do you feel that families should be aware of and be willing to step up to the planning process?
Right. Well, teaming is an important part of the planning process. And so while as a financial planner, I envision myself as something of an orchestra conductor of the different elements of the planning process, most often we team with someone from the legal side of things. And I'm very, very blessed that over the 20 plus years that I've been focused and committed, passionate about special needs planning, I've cultivated relationships with and have an informal network of special needs attorneys throughout Kentucky and even Indiana as well, because I have offices in Lexington, in Louisville, and Indianapolis. And so my team and I, our focus is certainly both states. And then, of course, I have my complement across the country, in the special care program. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, we have attorneys in Lexington, Louisville, New Albany, and Evansville are the hotspots, so to speak, in Kentucky or closest to Kentucky. And so we team with attorneys to help with everything from estate planning, creating wills, drafting and putting in place a special needs trust, dealing with guardianship issues
Mm-hmm.
or alternatives to guardianship. Also, in some cases, we need to undo guardianship. So sometimes it's putting in place, sometimes it's undoing guardianship.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there are frequent appeals to government benefit decisions or issues,
Mm-hmm.
and this can be related to Social Security. It can be related to Medicaid, and so we're very thankful for the strategic alliances we have with individuals in the legal community to help with the legal side. So teaming is really an important part.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes there are tax issues that come up. Parents want to know if they're charging their adult child rent, as an example, as a part of the SSI component. Do they need to declare that as income? And then in some cases, it's needing to file a 1041, that is a tax return for a special needs trust. And so we also have an informal network of accountants, CPAs, that can assist with tax issues as needed. And then also nonprofits, such as your Zoom group and so forth. And so, like I said earlier, kind of the orchestra conductor aspect of things. So people come with all kinds of issues and questions, and certainly helping them get connected. Mm-hmm. And finding a way forward to the future is critical, and that's the cause that we champion.
So I think I couldn't agree more about teaming. I think that's essential to make sure that it's a holistic view, that you've got all the perspectives looking at the regulations, the law, the legal, the financial, the family planning, et cetera, for both the family and the individual, that we're looking to make sure that they are taken care of. But what are the triggers from your perspective? Like, who should look to establish a special needs trust, utilizing your team network, your team approach?
Right. So the need to do special needs planning, and as a part of that, to set up a special needs trust, is born out of love and concern for someone. Mm-hmm. So if you're asking the question to just yourself or to others, how is this going to work when I'm no longer here? How is their quality of life going to be when I'm not on hand to, so to speak, pick up the slack, make up the difference, to pay for the extras in life? Because as we have discussed before, government benefits primarily focus on food, shelter, and healthcare. And while those are necessary and essential, and we're very thankful for our government agencies and government benefits and services, that focus leaves to families the opportunity to focus on quality of life issues. Mm-hmm. So with the government helping with food, shelter, and healthcare, then that is designed to free up families so that family resources can focus on basically everything else. And so, Melissa, often I call special needs trust, in essence, the everything else, because sometimes families will ask, well, with Medicaid or possibly Medicaid and Medicare taking care of health care, and with a monthly stipend for food and shelter, what else could they possibly want? Mm-hmm. And so often it's the everything else, and that everything else varies person to person, certainly. Right. But it is activities, it's going places, it's doing things, it is a life of meaning.
It's the fulfillment of their life and their journey, mm-hmm. and that extracurricular component.
Right. Horseback riding, going to sporting events, a bit of travel when COVID lifts and we can get out and get going. It's right. going to the park. It's just deciding, gosh, I need a new set of clothes or pajamas, and it's celebrating birthdays and holidays and Christmas, and it's things to look forward to.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. None of us looks forward to food, shelter, and health care.
Yes, I agree. It's one of those things, and it's no fun to go to the store and buy things that that are necessities, but nobody realizes that you have new necessities because you can't appreciate them quite the same. But
Right. So that's why I say it's the
it's
everything else.
everything else. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that everything else doubles life expectancy. And I believe that sincerely.
Yes.
The everything else, the reason to live, having a life of meaning, being important to others, others being important to you, and this type of thing. I think it's in large part why we have seen the life expectancy of individuals with special needs explode in recent decades.
It is the ability to look forward to something exciting that keeps the hope and the continuum, looking forward to something that keeps it all
Right.
going. And it's very, very important. And yes, I mean, it's vital that we can do as much as possible to make sure that that is there and available for them should they need it if something were to
Right.
happen. So
Right.
that,
So back to your
yes.
question,
Hmm.
the special needs, for special needs trust, what does the special needs trust do, or how does the special needs trust relate to all of what we just discussed? And the answer is much of what we discussed is not free. Being able to go and do, there's a price tag associated with it. And if an individual with special needs or disability has a funded special needs trust, then that's where the resources can sit to pay for all the things that they want to do and go and this type of thing. So it holds the resource. And the reality is the resources in most cases need to be held by an entity other than the individual with special needs, because if they're holding it, the government backs off in terms of being helpful to them.
That leads me to that question. Like, so how does it work? How does a special needs trust work specifically?
Well, okay, great question. There are two primary types of special needs trust from the standpoint. There's pool trust, which is where one plugs into an organization or nonprofit, such as Life Plans of Kentucky, and then a deposit is made into an account created in that pool trust, meaning you're just one account of many,
Okay.
that type of thing, and then they provide trustee services. The alternative to that is to have an attorney trust, and if the attorney drafts the trust, then parents or siblings, in other words, family members, can be in charge or be trustees of the trust. And then once the trust is funded, and the trust can be funded with anything anyone wants to give to the trust. So parents can write a check to get the trust started. We set up trust accounts for $500. It doesn't take all the money in the world to set up a trust account or to get that started. But first we get the trust, again, typically either pooled or attorney set up. The attorney set up trust enables a family, again, to be in charge or to be the trustee. But once the trust is in place, then we set up a trust account. And then from the trust account, disbursements can be made to pay for things. And funds in a trust are invested. They don't sit there like a bump on the log. They're invested in mutual funds or exchange-traded funds or this type of thing so that they grow. And there can be a checkbook, there can be a debit card, ways to easily access funds that are in the trust to pay for things. Goodness, we have trust beneficiaries that have maybe a half a dozen different family members that are periodically making deposits or putting funds into their trust to build it or grow it. We have small trusts, like I said, for $500 or $1,000, and we have trusts that are funded into the millions of dollars. But these resources do not count against them for government benefit eligibility, and this is so critical. We want to keep the government doing as much heavy lifting as possible in the food, shelter, and healthcare area, because otherwise resources will go for that, and there'll be nothing else left. There'll be no the rest of things. So through legislation passed in 1993, OBRA 93, the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 93, Special Needs Trust came about because there was a carve-out in that legislation for resources to be set aside in a proper way, and then for an individual to be eligible for Medicaid, despite those resources being set aside. So with a Special Needs Trust, unlike some of our seniors these days, if funds are placed into a special needs trust, there isn't a look back, there isn't a waiting period. Literally, a consumer can become eligible for these benefits immediately. And so it's what I often refer to as close as a special needs community as we're ever going to come to having our cake and eat it too. special needs trusts are amazing. They are not limited to the wealthy. I want to make that point. From one appointment or one family to the next, it may be a single mom living in Section 8 housing, surviving on Social Security, food stamps, and child support when it arrives, and then the next family is concerned about federal estate taxes because they have so much money. Special needs knows no barriers, no boundaries, and our focus is on helping as many families as we possibly can, regardless of the circumstances that they bring to us.
And you're right. Disabilities have no boundaries. It can be any individual from any family, anywhere. So this is an excellent bit of information for those individuals that have a special need or someone that they wish to assist. So that's great. I want to step back just a little bit. What can you just give us a real quick idea of what the trustee responsibilities might be?
Sure. So the trustee is the person in charge of, they don't own it, but they are in charge of whatever is held by the trust. And so I'm often asked, well, what can a trust hold? And the answer is just about anything an individual can own or hold, the trust can. So certainly money or financial accounts such as bank savings or checking accounts, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, stocks, bonds, but it goes beyond that. A trust can own an automobile. It can own a condominium, a house, rental property, farmland. Very broad what a special needs trust can hold. And this is really important because we never know for sure what grandparents may have or parents may have that they want to offer to help fund the trust out of providing support for their loved one that has special needs. And so the great news is we do an assessment of what assets exist or what parents have, that type of thing. But usually there's a way to get just about anything into a special needs trust. We have set up special needs trust to be literally funded with farmland that's rented out. And the special needs trust, upon the parent's death, will own the farmland, the same as it could own rental property. The farmland being professionally managed, just like a rental property could have a professional property manager, this type of thing. The rents go into the trust and pay the bills for the individual with special needs. I just had a meeting, a Zoom meeting yesterday with someone from Florida, and this mother's daughter is in Evansville, just across the river from Owensboro, Henderson, Kentucky, that type of thing. And Florida is the original family home, but the daughter's up in Indiana, and he'll be staying there because she has all of her benefits, her connections, et cetera. And so, but the mom's very concerned, of course, because when something happens to her, then the daughter's up there and family's in Florida. So she's trying to plan for the daughter, but so she wants to literally buy a condo for the daughter. And so we were working through managing the resources and how to make the purchase and so forth. And while the trust could own the condominium, we decided in this case it would probably make sense for the mom to own the condominium and then leave it to the daughter's trust upon the mother's death. That would enable the daughter to utilize her Social Security benefits to pay the mom rent for renting the condo while the mother is living. And then the mother had indicated she would accumulate this rent and turn around and put it into her daughter's trust. So it's just kind of working with what resources we have and options available. And I so enjoy, as I say, solving the puzzle and looking for solutions to give people peace of mind. I'm so thankful that this is my focus, because helping people solve these kinds of problems brings a lot of joy.
I agree and appreciate that. It is a very challenging road. I mean, it's a very complicated mix of the different components of working through the investments and working through, the Social Security limitations and the savings limitations that are out there. So I, really encourage individuals, if you have further interest in this type of special care need planning, to reach out to Gordon. He's got a particular 3-step process that's also part of his presentation that we are going to leave on that note, that you can reach out to him for that purpose and follow up for your families. But Gordon, I also want to just share with everybody that we've done, this is actually the third part of our series, and we've talked previously about government benefits and Social Security. And then we've also talked about the ABLE Act and guardianship. So for any individuals that are just catching this broadcast, feel free to go back and look to the other series that have been launched. And then also after viewing, feel free to, again, reach out to Gordon and or follow him on one of his webinars that he will give the entire presentation. So Gordon, is there any particular takeaway that you'd like to close this session with? For the families or anyone that's listening today that has an interest in this?
Well, thanks so much, Melissa, for asking. And I think the takeaway would be help is really good with this stuff, and help is as close as reaching out to us. There is never a charge for an email, a phone call, or even an initial meeting. And through that, we can figure out where you're at in your journey and what are some appropriate next steps. And provide help. Again, help is really good. Please let us help you. And thanks so much for listening.
All right, Gordon, thank you very much. And we will have Gordon coming on again in a final part of his series about the legal and life care plan perspective. So, Gordon, thank you very much. Have a great day, and we will be speaking with you soon.
All righty. Thank you, Melissa.
All right. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. To see upcoming guests, check us out at StudioZ.space.